I think it's funny. One of the first questions that we got asked on our DevRel team as we really started getting out there is like, what is Dell doing here? Y'all make servers and laptops. Even inside of Dell, we don't really have a good awareness of all the things that we've done to contribute to the DevOps and open source communities. And that's kind of part of the problem. We have to change people's perceptions.
With Dell, we've been very good at talking to more of the traditional end users, with the storage admins, server admins, virtualization admins. In that space, we've always been amazing at that. We never did a great job at speaking to the developer. And when I say developer, I don't even mean just an application developer. I mean somebody developing Ansible or Terraform automation sometimes. And when you start breaking down an ecosystem of those automation developers mixed with the up and coming Kubernetes and cloud native ecosystems that have been emerging for many years, Dell didn't have as strong of a presence there. And we realized going into this multi-cloud world, looking at things like Kubernetes 1, containers as a standard, we needed to figure out how do we not just enable the traditional IT organizations, how do we actually start working with the communities and the end users in these cloud native and automation ecosystems? That's where developer relations came in.
Dell's DevRel team is actually fairly new. And when I say DevRel, I should say developer relations. So developer relations is the idea that the company and the community can benefit one another, and we're the bridge in between.
Developer relations for us is really a world where we're about making sure we're part of a community, but we're also advocating for those communities and those end users back into Dell, inside of product management, inside of engineering. So they understand what these experiences are, these needs are, how to get APIs out, how to do documentation properly. So DevRel for us is kind of a two-way street. There's an advocacy side of it, but there's also this community building side.
So we're representing both sides and acting as liaisons and advocates for developers within Dell.
On one hand, we go out to the community, we engage with them, we talk with them, we find out about their problems, really learn about where they are, and we teach them what we know. We find out the pain points that people are experiencing in real life. We find out what people are looking for, what things products could solve for them, what things they are trying to fix in their organization. And we can bring that back to a company and say, here's the real world feedback.
When I look at DevRel now, we have an amazing team of about 5-6 people in the company that are all awesome personalities. They're very focused in different areas, whether it's hands-on labs, whether it's being part of CNCF and release teams, whether it's focusing on cleaning up documentation, APIs, developer.dell.com. There's a whole bunch of areas today that our small team is very powerful in. What we want to do with DevRel is be able to get out more content. Part of it is for DevRel is, again, helping not just the people that are known as DevOps today, kind of that community of folks, but how do you help the traditional IT ops folks learn to become more of the platform engineers and the DevOps oriented folks? That's where DevRel needs to scale and grow over time.
The DevRel team at Dell is a little bit unique for DevRel teams in general in that we don't actually spend a lot of time talking about Dell's product offerings. We are heavily an educational team, and that is both internal education and external education. So a large part of our jobs is making sure that Dell's engineering teams are aware of like the most modern best practices in DevOps, making sure that our sales and pre-sales teams are capable of having intelligent, thoughtful discussions on infrastructure as code with customers. That's important to us. We also spend a lot of time doing outside-facing education, a lot of time speaking at conferences, talking about our own experiences, giving people tutorials or workshops on how to use Terraform or Ansible or Pulumi or Artifactory or whatever we're particularly interested in. And we are also all active community members ourselves.
We all bring different components to our team. We come from different walks of life, different experience. And I think that is one of the benefits of our unique team, is really that we are providing sort of this connection with our communities that A, we've been a part of, but B, that we want to be a part of here at Dell. And we want to do it in a way which is very connective, provides that connective tissue for Dell as a brand, but also that we can provide that feedback to both our communities and our internal communities about what's going on out there, right? So our DevRel team is really exciting in the sense that we're kind of touching a lot of different technologies.
So what I think is really important for folks to understand about DevRel is that we have to be able to communicate to our product teams very accurately and passionately on behalf of the customers and on behalf of the users. There's no way for us to do that without being out there and talking to and meeting with the folks and really learning and understanding what they need to do. We don't carry quotas as DevRel folks, which is great because we're not bound to a sale. And that allows us a certain amount of objectivity when we can go back to these product teams like, well, no, this needs to be fixed. This is an actual problem, or people don't like this, right? We can call the baby ugly, right? But we're not doing that with any other purpose other than wanting what we do here at Dell to meet the needs of the users and the communities and the customers. I think the most important of what developer relations is that notion of we're going to have someone who is technical and has an understanding of what people are trying to do, meeting with the people who are actually trying to do it.
I started this role about a year and a half ago, working at both Dell and EMC for many years. The DevOps end users never thought of Dell because they looked at us as a hardware company. What people have realized over time is, what does it mean to associate a company with the term DevOps? What we've learned is that just because in the past people have not associated Dell with DevOps because they thought of us as a hardware company, they've come to realize in the past year and a half, 2 years or so, that when you're trying to deliver outcomes through DevOps, you're trying to build your platforms. And that means you do need access to compute, to storage, to data protection. But what people are starting to see is that, oh wow, Dell actually is delivering more outcomes than I realized. It's not just buy a power edge or a server. It's about, I need a cloud in a box. I need to solve a business enterprise kind of cybersecurity problem or protection problem, and I need to associate that with the cloud stack. And all of a sudden, Dell pops into the conversation more because we are delivering a higher level of outcomes and solutions than some people even realize.
I know that Dell has contributed open source projects in the OpenStack community. We've given our code back to the community about how they integrate with our storage platforms. We have something called container storage modules, which is an open source suite of software that allows you to use a lot of the Dell platforms with Kubernetes.
I think we've really done a good job, just speaking for myself and the involvement with the LF Edge and the projects that I've been a part of there, presenting at conferences. And I have colleagues as well who are involved in other well-known open source projects under the CNCF and other organizations. I think we have done a really good job, especially in the last 3 years or so, of getting the word out there that we do participate in the open source space. We're open for collaboration. We're trying to work with industry partners to move the conception of what's possible in the industry forward, because that doesn't just help us, that helps everybody to sort of move this whole process forward and to evolve the landscape. So I think there has been a real maturity. I think there's been sort of a real evangelization of the benefits of being involved in open source and standards communities as well.
And that's one thing our group is doing, is we're starting with these internal, we call them open source days. We piloted it and get a bunch of developers together, write code, and then donate it to the community.
So I'd say Dell isn't the only company that is starting to show up more. I'd say Intel's also been in the open source space for a long time. There's a lot of large companies that people don't realize are in the open source space, but I know Intel's been around for a very long time, contributing, providing that space for open source to thrive, providing the people power, providing the money, the funding, things like that. And I think that Intel has a lot of street cred when it comes to just how much they've invested in the open source community over the years. I'm going to be very interested to see them engage more and more in the DevOps space with the DevOps community over time.
So one of the things I love about working at Dell, and part of the reason I joined EMC and Dell originally, was to actually help facilitate customer input into the company. Dell has been amazing at listening to our traditional customers for a very long time, and that's how our portfolio is driven. All the feature prioritization for storage, server, data protection, networking, you name it, that comes directly from our customer base. With the DevOps side of the equation, we're getting better at listening there. And going forward, these end users, such as the platform engineers, SREs, and other types of folks, are now becoming some of the core people that we do talk to in the industry to understand where our strategy and portfolio needs to go for features and products.
No matter what, this company is resilient, passionate, and customer first and customer centric. So we're not going to get it right always every time. We're also never going to quit, and we're always going to listen. And there's always an incredible amount of people who care, and we'll keep asking the right questions, and we will eventually get it right. We will get it right more than often than not. And we're going to keep evolving. We have a massive opportunity to help our customers, and we're going to listen to them to make sure we do. And that is certainly something that is very clear about this company. And I know that's not going to change.
I've had a front row seat for a lot of this, and actually been trying to help drive a lot of this over a number of years, just because coming in from the customer side, I was SQL Server DBA. So I spent a good portion of my time on the development side and a good portion of my time on the IT data center side. And coming in, the organization was very, very data center focused. And so trying to help people to understand that it's more than just the people implementing these solutions. It's the people that are going to be consuming these solutions, and helping to elevate the conversation outside just the data center, so that we can talk to the application folks and the business folks and find out, what is it you're trying to solve? Let's not just throw product at something. Let's understand what challenges you're seeing, what you are trying to accomplish, and how can we help you reach that goal.
I think the Dell customer is a app developer that has only grown up developing cloud native principled applications. We're bringing those environments on premises so that the developers have the same development experience. You can develop it here, deploy there, develop there, deploy here. A key element of this is going to be the community aspect, which we used to have before, and we need to rebuild now. So to be known as a software company, we're starting to do that with the Apex platform, but that will become the backbone of this modern software delivery.
Product-wise, we're moving in the direction of being able to migrating workloads from cloud back in the data center. I think we're working on the tools to make that engineering lift a lot easier. Certainly not non-existent, but a lot easier. How do we talk to the company and business and engineering leadership about the bottom line? My background in cloud economics, I know that it's going to be cheaper for many, many use cases to buy yourself, put it in there. A lot of these folks think that they have to give up agility, they have to give up, some of the performance, that they have to give up just the ease of use and the automation and observability. In a lot of cases, they're still right.
Yeah.
We need to find a way to convince these folks, not even to use us yet, but to work with us so we can build tools that they will then be able to consume later on.
I mean, I think that is a core value of what Dell has done in the past. It's let me go help you have optionality. Let me help you have choices. This is the vision, and here is how we can help you have flexibility in a multi-cloud world to operate across different providers where you won't be as locked in. Let us be a trusted advisor because we can help you go in a lot of directions. I think the other piece that's important, like we got to know our DNA and know our role in this equation, the ecosystem. And that is, we are a global scale, like we can, drive a market. We're not going to typically make the market, but these startups that we're trying to serve, they're also partners to us, right? Because they can participate in that ecosystem. No one provider has all the answers, right? We need each other. It's like this collaborative, complementary relationship. And so in my mind, it's like, all right, let's let the market play out. Let's build the tools that are needed to make it play out. Let's make some of our investments in some innovative things. But then let's also bring the partners in who also may be our customers and ones that pick up on something. Hey, let's help them grow. Let's help them scale because we can give them that access and we can help grow the market and drive innovative technology, to the masses.
We have some of the strongest partnerships in the industry. Like we've been partners with Microsoft for 35 years, and we've been partners with Red Hat for 24 years. And so what we're able to do is we're able to take what we're great at on the infrastructure side and then leverage these partnerships and the expertise that we're able to collectively bring to these solutions. Like everything that we've announced with Apex Cloud Platforms has been designed, engineered, and built with our partners. And so that way we're able to leverage decades and decades of our collective expertise.
You're going to see things like Apex Navigator portfolio coming up, where we basically announced this year our multi-cloud storage side of it, as well as our Apex Navigator with Kubernetes. So how do we enable storage in the public cloud through persistent volume management all the way in all of your Kubernetes clusters on-prem or in the cloud? A lot of these types of solutions that we're providing are enabled by the end user discussions and the outcomes that these DevOps shops are actually asking for.
The idea behind the cloud platforms is we're taking that cloud experience, whether it's in Azure or VMware or OpenShift, and we're bringing it on premises using our world-class infrastructure, our Dell software-defined storage. And the really, really cool part about it is we have all this integration and automation that makes it a really seamless and easy experience to take whatever you're doing in the cloud, on whichever cloud you're doing it, and bring it home.
I like that because I think there's a common misconception that people have about what the cloud hyperscalers are providing. Yes, they do provide compute, storage, and network and stuff like that, but what they're really providing is the experience on how you interact with that infrastructure, right? And the private clouds, data centers have been lagging behind that for several years. And when you can talk to customers about saying, hey, maybe you go back in the data center, it's more financially feasible or whatever,
right.
The engineering lift isn't there. It's like we're DevOps enabled, we're cloud native, we have automation for everything like that. We have all these, observability tools set up and everything like that.
Absolutely.
I don't have this in the cloud. Now you're saying, well, now you can.
Yeah. We want to take that cloud experience and everything, all the scripts you're using, all the automation you've already built, and make it really easy for you to just bring that into your own data center or to the edge if that's what your workloads and your users need without any of the sacrifice. All of our customers are, they're going multi-cloud, and we know that. But a lot of times what we're seeing, to your point, is that multi-cloud means multi-complexity and multi-tools and multi-skill sets needed. Well, with the cloud platforms, we've kind of eliminated some of that complexity that comes with multi-cloud by just bringing the same cloud experience you're already used to on-prem.
So let me ask you a question. From what I've seen and what you're telling me, it sounds like this is geared to enterprises who had data center assets, expanded it into cloud, and are now kind of managing them both.
Right.
How would you use this platform to pursue engineering orgs and customers who were born in the cloud and have never been in the data center, but want to come to the data center, whether it's for compliance, mostly for financial reasons, stuff like that?
Right.
How do you present this to them as a thing that they can use to say, like, hey, you can have the same experience, but you can have it for much less cost?
Yeah, and so, immediately we address the misconception that if I'm going to move my cloud native applications on-prem, I'm going to need a whole different IT staff with a whole different set of skill set, a whole set of different skills. But that's not the case, because with the Apex Cloud platforms, you can use the tools that you're already familiar with, like Windows Admin Center or OpenShift Console. And so you don't need extra skills, and it just makes it really easy to get the ideal placement for your workloads and applications without any of the hassle.
It's all about giving to our consumers and customers the same cloud-like experience. So everything you know about cloud, self-service provisioning, and all these facilities and toolkit you have, we can do the same with your in-house infrastructure. And yeah, with these days of increasing energy cost and things like that, I think we have a good set of tools to help our customers.
One of Dell's strengths in the industry is how ecosystem oriented we are. We work with tons of companies all the time. You can name them through the Red Hats, through the Microsofts, the Intels. And when you look at companies such as an Intel, who is really core to the technology that everybody delivers in the industry, whether it's through CPUs, networking, or anything else they deliver, a lot of times the automation conversations, the observability conversations, even the open source and standards conversations always have to come back to the atomic unit that we're delivering through technology. It's how to deliver compute cycles for workloads. It's how to deliver automation and configuration, flexibility within the platforms. And when you're looking at the ecosystem around us, companies like Intel very quickly pop in where they're helping drive things like Redfish in the past, where they're driving more of a developer experience to make sure that people are delivering more of the AI/ML outcomes and many other things around them. So our ecosystem to Dell is very important with a lot of those players out there.
So Intel, like Dell, is a brand I think a lot of people know. And like Dell, they are a proponent and a practitioner of what DevOps is. Whether that's their cloud toolkits for managing cloud resources or optimizing those cloud resources. They have a lot of software and angles that are directly involved in DevOps. Not only do they provide those toolkits and sort of enablers for their customers, Intel also lives and breathes DevOps, right?
Intel's involvement with the DevOps community has been very much from the start, because ultimately, yes, Intel makes great technology products like processors and GPUs, but we want to make sure that people are using them in the most efficient way. So when it comes to the software, Intel has one API. Because you've got all of these disparate technologies today, like CPUs, GPUs, accelerators, and things of that sort, you want to have a very simple way of programming all of those different technology devices. But in addition, modern DevOps is also about infrastructure as code, or IAC as many people call it in the industry. And that's about provisioning your infrastructure, making sure it's available for the right sort of an environment, doing it all very automagically, if you will. And that's really where Intel's been involved in trying to make that whole experience about infrastructure management and all of that in a very automated fashion. And that's some of those hooks are built into the products that we ship out today.
AI is the most pervasive technology that humanity's ever going to feel. And AI does not know any boundaries per se. So when, one of the things we're seeing, obviously, the last several months, front and center of everything, and even in today's keynote where I was listening to Jeff Clark, has become this concept of generative AI, right? And large language models like ChatGPT and Bard and all that. Yeah. Those require massive amounts of training and inference capabilities in very large data centers. But AI is a lot of things, right? It's deep learning networks, there's inferencing. And so when we talk about artificial intelligence specific to the edge, what we talk about is a lot of time inferencing. From an Intel perspective, there's a lot of places in AI you can focus. I think if you ask the average developer coming right out of university, when you think of artificial intelligence, I think their mind automatically goes to GPUs and CUDA, right? Which is where, NVIDIA has done a great job over the last decade, really driving AI in that sense. It's usually shocking to people when they find out that there's 19,000 software developers at Intel. So here's this, 120,000 person semiconductor manufacturing company. People typically associate Intel with, oh, they're building the chip, they're building Xeon, they're building Core, they're fueling data centers and they're fueling PCs, but AI? Yeah. And so what we've done is, knowing that AI is going to be pervasive across this entire compute continuum, is we've really done three things. One is we want to offer flexibility to customers. So when you look at all of the different Intel technologies, we have infused AI capabilities in almost every product we make. For instance, a lot of people, when you talk about doing, say, inferencing in a data center workload, they think, oh, I need to have a CPU and I need to have a GPU. Well, not necessarily. Right. On the Intel Xeon CPU, we have something called DL Boost in the AVX 512 instruction set, and it's VNNI technology. You can actually do a really good amount of inferencing on a host Xeon CPU. Yeah. So what we're basically telling customers is, look, you might have an install base of capabilities where you can actually do AI on the system you already have, and you don't necessarily need an accelerator. And then if you go down the line of our products, where we have discrete graphics capabilities which we're building. We have other products that are ASIC-based products called the Gaudi product family from Habana, which we acquired several years ago. And then we also, in our processors that we typically put in IoT edge devices or in PCs, we have integrated graphics, and we have new technology coming, like integrated VPUs, visual processing unit. Yeah. And so what this does is this allows you to actually do AI performance capabilities and acceleration on a whole variety of platforms.
So as Dell looks strategically to the next few years, our goal is to enable the industry in a few different ways around DevOps.
I think we're going to see the maturity of a lot of what we've been bringing to market, the continued evolution. I think we're going to see more composability to allow customers to not just make that choice once, but then to potentially recompose and change their mind later on without having to start over from scratch. I mean, we do this within the development space. We talk about fail fast and making it easy to pivot, reducing the cost of having to change, right? So you identify something that isn't working and you quickly change to another course with minimal cost, maximum learning, right? Imagine being able to do that with infrastructure as well and not have to lay out massive capital expenditures again.
One of the things we have to tell ourselves at Dell is we can't just stop learning what DevOps is about. DevOps is an evolutionary kind of term and does take many forms. And we have to really understand how DevOps plays a role at every one of our users and customers, because the reality is DevOps means different things to each one of our customers.
A lot of our customers, I'll say our legacy customers who've been with us for a while and kind of always rely on Dell for expertise and to be their partners, they are still doing DevOps transformations. They're still trying to get up to speed on some of the modern cloud technologies, right? And we have the expertise in-house. Reaching out to the community, to the DevOps community, I think has been critical for this, because not only are we quite seasoned in the practice of DevOps at enterprise, but it allows us to get our pulse on how DevOps is practiced in smaller, leaner organizations, right? In ways that we can apply that to enterprises that want to move fast.
I think Dell has a really strong opportunity to help the DevOps community. I think that, one, just simply participating, any type of participation at all, where we are able to share knowledge, where we're able to help people navigate this massive ecosystem that's been built, is generally a good thing. We have a lot of internal knowledge that's the kind of knowledge that you would share. We've been running data centers continuously. We've been working with hardware. We've been working with software. We've got so many different people who have such long-running knowledge that we can share with the world. And I think that's a really big opportunity that we have. Unlike a lot of companies, unlike a lot of other people who are in the space, we've been around a really long time. And we're not going anywhere.
Well, I can't wait to see what Dell is going to bring to the DevOps game in the future.
What's the future? I think amongst the most popular future quotes are the Gibson quote, right? The future's here already. It's just not evenly distributed. I think that's very true. There's a huge amount of infrastructure and developer tooling privilege that results in massive amounts of productivity that you have at the best companies. Not always the largest companies, but the best companies. And I think that either starts to trickle down through employees moving to new companies, giving talks, sharing knowledge, exposing companies to that. But companies that aren't just technology companies doing a much better job. I've heard compelling case studies from auto manufacturers, from chicken restaurants who are doing a much better job now. And so I think the future is that the tools and practices that are working and that implemented in the best places become more widely distributed.
If we look at AI, there's been a lot of conversations about is it going to replace humans, right? It's not going to replace humans, but humans who are using this technology are going to replace people who are not. Right, so we have a fundamental need to participate in these communities, start playing with those tools, understand the fundamentals of them.
The future of DevOps is really rich because people are looking at the latest AI technologies like Gen AI, for example. And one aspect of Gen AI that really lends itself to this DevOps model is that, the parameter tuning. Just to give you a very quick idea of what that means is, I may have a generative AI model that's tuned for a very specific sort of application or a domain, but that domain grows over time. And some of these domains grow quite quickly, so you have to be able to incorporate these latest sort of developments into your Gen AI model, and that's called tuning your model. And you want that to be as automated as possible, as continuous as possible. So, that's one of the things that, DevOps is going to incorporate or beginning to start incorporating as we move into the future.
Maybe the AI robots will save us all. Who knows?
Well, it's something we can all get behind, right?
Yeah.
Every technology goes through a hype phase. DevOps went through a hype phase. Kubernetes went through a hype phase. I don't subscribe to the hype phases. I like to kind of sit back, and I have the opportunity to sit back and kind of watch what the industry does and decide if I'm going to adopt something once the hype phase is over.
And I don't know is the answer, right? But what is important for Dell is to get the answer from the community. And then when they get that answer, help lead the charge to make it happen.
I have no ability to prognosticate the future, but one thing I just have moral certainty is that one thing that you find in the DevOps community is that they push the frontiers of performance. Whatever frontiers we thought they were, they're going to be busted through, and it will generate awe, admiration, and just like in DevOps Days 2010, it will inspire others to meet, replicate, and even beat.
Someone watching this docuseries, what I would want them to take away is what we want people to take away when they come to our booth at a DevOps Days. We want them to come to it saying, I did not know that Dell had anything to do with DevOps. And then to listen to our story and say, no, we actually are involved in these following areas from a technical point of view, as well as members of the community. That's why we're here, not just to talk, but we're here to listen and actually do work, right? And we're here to stay.
When people spend time with Dell and focus on the docuseries for however long it's going to be, what I really think they should take away from this is DevOps is still emerging for a lot of people. It's a transformational journey for the vendors as much as the end users, the communities out there, everybody around the concept of DevOps. Don't think of it as a static point in time that you need to focus on. Think of it as a journey. Dell's on that journey along with you, along with the community, along with open source, and partners such as Intel and others.
And so I think when this is all said and done and people are done watching this thing, that they're gonna have questions. And they should have questions, right? And that's what we want. We want more people to talk about this. We want more people to come together. We want more people to be aware of where problems are and where opportunities are, and what they can contribute to it. Because in the end, your ideas matter to us.